of suppose it's been delayed after admission 3-4 years pass, and then there is a fair value that you take, and which is far inferior to what it was at the time of. So at the time of admission, what was the fair value? IBC has successfully realized 94.95% of that value. So realization exceeding 171.54 of the liquidation value indicates recovery levels reflect the enterprise's distressed state upon entry, not a failure of the resolution framework. We need to take that on board. As of December 2025, sir, IBC has facilitated resolution of 1,376 companies, enabling creditors to recover 4.11 lakh crores in total. So financial creditors have seen recovery exceeding 34% of their claims. So that's the actual state of affairs, and I want that to be laid in the House, sir. There were concerns expressed. I'm not sure if I'm able to see the member here, Sukendu Sekhar Ray, who said promoters re-entering. Sorry, I couldn't locate you. I saw you somewhere here. Sorry. Sir, promoters re-entering Section 29A getting diluted was a concern which was expressed by the Honourable Member. I want to emphasize that Section 29A prohibits willful defaulters, persons related to the NPAs, etc., and their connected parties from submitting a resolution plan. In fact, I'll tie that up with what Honourable Member Shukla had mentioned, saying why won't we, Rajiv Shukla ji, why won't you want to have some of the promoters come back to take it? In fact, I'll answer that in detail later, but for small firms, MSMEs, we do give a chance for the promoter to come and claim if he can provide a feasible solution. We do accommodate them if they are small. But for the big ones, no. The defaulting promoter is not allowed to come back, whatever means that he may adopt. We don't entertain that. Ineligible persons include, and let me put it on the table here, who are those who are ineligible to come back? Willful defaulters, persons related to NPAs, persons against whom avoidance application orders have been made, and so on, and their connected parties. So proceedings against the corporate debtor halt on successful resolution, but proceedings against erstwhile promoters will still continue. In other words, sir, if a solution is given through the RP and the NCLT has approved it and so on, the new buyer or the new person who's taking over the company is not going to be festered with cases. However, the defaulting promoter for the omissions and commissions will be pursued with law so that action is taken upon him, so that the new business does not get encumbered or disturbed from settling and growing. In fact, later when I respond to one of the members, I would highlight the fact that we are making sure that prior 2 years is also taken on board so that none of these cases will be restored, not from the day of the resolution, but even 2 years before onwards. So the committee of creditors said, this is a point which I needed to. The look back period, which is what I was trying to explain, for the avoidance transaction is expanded to 2 years before the date on which the petition was filed before the adjudicating authority, that's the NCLT. This will reduce the incentive for the promoters to delay admission. Committee of creditors have to record reasons for selection of the successful resolution applicant. So this proposed amendment, sir, has been added after the select committee recommendations. It shows our commitment for transparency. We brought it in with all full support from our side because it's important to have this entire process a lot more transparent so that it doesn't raise any doubts in the minds of people. So again, Rajiv Shukla ji and Ayodhya Rami Reddy ji asked about this NCLT delays, whether NCLT functions in full capacity or not, what are the constraints and so on, and the timeline breaches. So primary cause for delay, and it's obvious, all of us will accept it, and it's fairly open domain information. Primary cause of delay is extensive litigation, sir. Promoters tend to litigate or attempt settlements, delaying admission. So as a result, you end up with further and further delay, not due to the process being stagnated, but because there's so much of litigation upon litigation. Parallel recovery processes also cause delay. So it's not as if it's a clinical situation where the IBC process is set out and it's rolling, but this entire ecosystem works to bring in these handicaps to the IBC. So to overcome this, following steps have been taken in the amendment bill, which is now under consideration. New penalty provisions have been brought in. The penalty on persons initiating frivolous, vexatious proceedings to prevent abuse and delays. So minimum 1 lakh rupees or up to 2 crore rupees penalties will be levied if the initiation is vexatious or frivolous. Amendment bill also provides mandatory 14-day admission timeline once the default is established. For financial creditors, no other criteria is required to be seen. Information utility is a very important point, because now when they are searching to get credibility or credible information, time is spent. Now we are very clearly saying information utility maintains the record of the financial information which is required to be authenticated by the debtor, and this forms the basis of record of default. Based on this, NCLT can initiate the process, thus saving time. So adjudicating authority will be required to approve or reject resolution plan within 30 days of receipt. So in fact, this is a little nudge even on the adjudicating authority. There is a sensitivity which we are conscious of, because it looks as if we are telling the courts to please expedite, but it's a gentle nudge. So I would think it will be appreciated. So creditor-initiated insolvency resolution process, CIIRP as they would call it now onwards. New out-of-court initiation mechanism with compressed 150-day timeline is being brought in. So the genuine concerns on NCLT delays, capacity restrictions, and also the timeline breaches are now being taken care of. So there's this concern which again Honourable Member Rajiv Shukla mentioned about workers' dues, operational creditors not prioritized. I would like to highlight the point, sir. We are ensuring that the workmen dues are not ignored at all. Under the distribution waterfall mechanism, the dues owed to workmen is given a higher priority and equivalent to secured creditors. In fact, even government dues come below the workmen dues. It is above the unsecured financial creditors also. So, we are committed to ensure that the workmen are not shortchanged. So, honourable members did, while speak about the IIM Ahmedabad study, which has come out in March 2026. It did a study on the post-resolution situation. Post-resolution, what happens to the companies? Are they surviving? Are they prospering? Are they doing well? So a survey was conducted, and they came up with post-resolution outcomes showing that the expenses on employees has increased 72% and employee strength per unit of asset increased 200% over 5 years. So actually, workmen concerns post-resolution is actually being well attended to. If the company was waiting for resolution, its value decaying, it would have not done any good to the workers. Whereas once the resolution has happened, the new bidder has taken the company over and it's running it, he's spending more on workmen, and he is also making sure that there are more number of workmen per asset unit. So this is a very good encouraging sign of the IBC process. So on MSME and the stress of MSMEs, pre-pack for MSMEs, some concern was expressed. MSMEs are actually exempted from disqualification, sir, under section 29A and 29AC, 29AH of the IBC, which actually facilitates existing promoters to participate in rescuing their business to ensure small players are not made to lose their business, which gets into insolvency. In 2021, when we brought in the 6th amendment to the code, the pre-packaged insolvency resolution process was introduced for corporate MSMEs to fast-track resolution of cases for MSMEs. So, even the voting threshold was brought down from 66%, I think it was brought down to 21%, and also the documentation processes would be reduced. So compliance, particularly when you're looking at activities which are PUFE activities, issuing of preferential shares or undervalued bills and so on, even those processes are now reduced for the MSMEs. So, fugitive offenders was a big question, that we've allowed them to go away. I heard the strong rebuttal given by our member, very clearly saying who gave the loans, when did they run away, who's actually following them through law, and who's actually bringing them back. The fugitive offenders who are being brought back, who's actually bringing them back? They ran away at a particular time, which was the period of our opposition party's government. But now they are being brought back, and therefore some data would help to inform our members. Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018 was brought in by Prime Minister Modi's government, and it was enacted to deter economic offenders from evading Indian law by staying abroad. This Fugitive Economic Offenders Act is applicable to all offences involving 100 crores or more. Actions taken are confiscation of properties, which are proceeds of crime, benami properties, lookout notices to Bureau of Immigration.
Just a second. माननीय सदस्यगण, जैसा ऑनरेबल चेयरमैन ने दोपहर में आपको बताया था और कॉन्सेंट भी हाउस का लिया था, ऑनरेबल मेंबर्स एज एग्रीड टू बाय द हाउस इन द forenoon, the house will sit beyond 6 p.m. till the disposal of the ongoing business and permitted special mentions. Thank you. Honorable Minister.
So the actions taken under this Fugitive Economic Offenders Act, sir, are confiscation of properties, which are proceeds of crime, benami properties, lookout calls through Bureau of Immigration, prohibition on raising capital, acquiring shares or voting rights. So ED investigated many of these cases. 1,105 bank fraud cases were investigated by ED. Under the PMLA, attachment of proceeds of crime amounting to 64,920 crores have been done. Attachment has happened. 150 accused have been arrested. 277 prosecution complaints have also been filed. 8 accused declared fugitive economic offenders under this act. And assets worth 15,186 crore have been confiscated, of which 15,183.77 crores have been restituted to our public sector banks. They've gotten back that kind of money. 3 accused convicted under PMLA. They were clearly convicted, sir. PMC Bank recovered 104.2 crores, 0.02 crores with ED's support. So we know at the time of the PMC Bank crisis how several members of parliament were very concerned. They approached me. They said, are you doing something about it? We found a solution and 104.02 crores have been recovered. Assets worth 725.90 crores were confiscated under the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act.